Hi everyone, this is Veronica and today we are going to talk about Global Risk Report 2019. The Global Risk Report is released ahead of the World Economic Forum's annual meeting in Davos, that is in Switzerland. So this report basically urges governments and organizations to address the impact of specific threats. So we'll discuss that in detail. For my video updates, you can follow me on Instagram, and the PDF of this lecture will be uploaded on my Facebook profile as well as on my Telegram channel. So this is a channel StudyIQ. If you're preparing for any government exam, our pen drive and tablet courses are also available. For additional information, you can call on these numbers or you can visit our website. Now see, from the exam point of view, it is very important. If you talk about the objective level, then Global Risk Report, what is it, who publishes it is very important. And at subjective level, what are these various threats and how we can ensure the stability even after knowing or after the fallout of such threats. Now there's a question for you also. If you have seen my slides carefully, so it would be very easy for you to answer right now. You can answer in the comment box. The Global Risk Report 2019 is released by, right, you can give me the answer. Now see, this is released by, here's the answer, World Economic Forum. This is very important. And there is certain significance of this report also. If we talk about the significance, this report basically describes changes that are about to occur on the global risk landscape from year to year and identifies global catastrophic risk also, so that we should be ready if they fall out. So here we want to urge the organizations and governments to address the impact of specific threats and make preparations in advance. And one more interesting thing about this report is that it says that all the factors here, because the factor here we are going to talk about, there are two risk factors. There are 10 risks in this group, 10 risks in this group. So what are these groups? One is likelihood, that we perceive, we anticipate these risks on the basis of likelihood, and there are the other risks which we perceive that they will take place because of impact of certain other things. So these 10 risks, so they are common also. So 2-3 things are different here, so we'll discuss that. And what is the important about these two groups is that they are interconnect. No such risks will occur in isolation, so that is most petrifying thing also. And but obviously we should be ready. That is why such surveys and such reports come out. Now let's talk about the top 10 risks. So the report findings are based on the annual Global Risk Perception Survey, which asks the forum network of business, government, civil society and thought leaders to gauge the risk facing our world. So now if we talk about firstly extreme weather events, so firstly there is the floods. Floods, you all know, you have seen the Srinagar floods, the Kerala floods, so these are in the risk factors. Next, in extreme weather condition, what you can anticipate, there could be storms, there could be hurricanes, there could be cyclones, right? So all these things you have seen at least somewhere in the world or even in India. We have seen all of them, and these still pose a risk for the future. We are talking here on behalf of as a global citizen, so they pose a threat for the future also. And then obviously we see there is a failure of climate change and mitigation and adaptation in our country, right? So there are major natural disasters also, so we have already seen, and there is a risk also. There could be earthquakes. So the major earthquakes you have recently seen was of Nepal, and in India, in your senses you might have seen the Gujarat earthquake. And then tsunami. All of you can remember the tsunami that took place in India in 2004 and the Indian Ocean. So that was very terrifying. So this also poses a risk in the likelihood group, right? So then there could be volcanoes, active volcanoes, which can affect the environment and biodiversity and even the population residing around. And then by watching this slide, what do you expect? So this is the massive incident of data fraud, because right now we depend a lot on data, whether even now we are making DNA data banks also, and then obviously there are your technological data banks. So data for us is very important. So there could be massive risk, there is a massive potential risk of data fraud and theft to the globe. We are talking globally, to the big firms, to the countries, to the business leaders, to the organizations, civil society, etc., whatever you can think of. Then Then there is a risk of massive cyber attacks. So if there could be data theft, there could be cyber attack also. That is one of the most in the priority list, the highest rated risk that is reported in the report, right? Large scale cyber attacks could take place. And then obviously man has made a lot of damage to the environmental and disasters. So what kind of man-made disasters you can think of? Oil spillage. They also cause risks for future also, because they totally destroy the biodiversity and the marine ecosystem. Then there could be this radioactive contamination, because right now when we are using so much nuclear plants all over the globe, but we don't have a proper process of disposing them. So these pose a big threat to the mankind and the human civilization. Then because of these effects, we see migration of species. From 1970 we have seen 60% of species, vertebrate species, moving from one place to another. So this they do because involuntary, because usually migration is voluntary if it is taking place for the reproductive cycle or the habitat cycle. But here such involuntary migration, it can have a very bad impact on the ecosystem. So your ecosystem is where your living biotic and abiotic factors interact with each other. So major biodiversity losses and ecosystem collapse is a major risk. So ecosystem collapse, it could be marine ecosystem, it could be a terrestrial ecosystem or anything. So then water crisis is a biggest threat. You have already seen Cape Town situation in the Cape Town and in Shimla in India, and there are many water stressed states in our country also. That poses a big risk. And then ultimately there could be your asset bubble, economic asset bubble. So what is that? When the major powers, they have the problem of erosion of multilateral trading rules, so the overinflation can take place and the prices of the property and infrastructure will rise, and ultimately it will affect everyone. So this is the short story, you can say crux of this lecture. These top 10 risks of likelihood by global risk report. Under these are likelihood, which may happen, and these are the impact of technology or any other thing, right? So they are almost same, but there are certain differences, like weapons of mass destruction, it is here. Then these are almost same in both the things, but one more difference is here in the massive spread of infectious diseases. So we'll discuss this topic in a separate lecture, because this is very important, right? So now here you can say they don't exist in isolation, they're interconnected. How they're interconnected? Because suppose, see, if biodiversity loss is taking place, it will affect the human food chain. So if it will be affected, it will impact the health of humans. If health of the humans will be impacted, then it will cause socio-economic, it will hamper the process of development on socio-economic basis. And then there is the case of regional security, and ultimately we are affecting our planet, because here we are not talking about as an individual or a country citizen, we are talking about this report as a global citizen. So we'll do the analysis of this report also. So if we talk about environmental risk, they dominate the global risk landscape, though there are no new risks coming up like data theft. We have never seen these problems in early a decade back, or the cases of cyber attack, but these are the major future risks because of technology misuse. Because if we talk now about the environmental risk, this includes extreme weather events and failure of climate mitigation and adaptation. Only 12 years left to stay beneath 1.5 degrees Celsius. However, there is a lack of political will to set more stretching targets to cut emissions. So this report finds that business leaders are more concerned about climate in long term. So this disconnect will need to be tackled. Now we talk about global risks. They are intensifying, but our capacity to respond to them is declining. How? Because power is moving towards more nationalist and authoritarian states, and they are becoming more inwards looking. So with greater geopolitical friction, our ability to cooperate to solve challenges such as cyber risks and climate change has become more challenging. Next is geopolitics and your geoeconomic factors, because innovation is also outpacing our ability to manage it, and there are growing concerns about technology misuse. That is the main thing. And if we talk about short-term fears, so for top business leaders, cyber risk concern is rising globally and is the highest ranked threat. And other concerns also exist, such as fiscal crisis could be there, unemployment, energy price shocks, national governance failure, interstate conflict, and natural disasters. These are posing major threats to globally to many countries. And there is significant financing gaps in infrastructure capital. So with only 79 US trillion, okay, 79 trillion US dollars currently planned between now and 2040, this means 20% more financing is needed than we are putting in today. So furthermore, infrastructure needs to be resilient to extreme weather events. Business with its reliance on public sector and infrastructure will be impacted and need to work with government on solutions, right? So you see, these risks don't exist in isolation, though they're interconnected and each has the potential to affect the others, as the following chart for the report explores, right? So as this chart as I have shown you, right? So as I already told you about this particular example, so you can say what is the way forward. So obviously way forward here is when we already know about these risks, that is the significance of this report, so we should already be prepared if any fallout takes place. So the answer is World Economic Forum. So if you have any query, you can contact me, and for the PDF it will be uploaded on the Telegram channel. Thank you.